Welcome in, everybody. If you're joining us right now, that means you're either on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, OTT, or WCPO.com. But one thing, no matter what, Selection Sunday.
One of the best times of the year, man.
Best day of the year.
I mean, it was like a holiday growing up for me, right? I mean, I would sit there and I'm like looking at, and then bracketology kind of became a thing. It caught steam, and you're sitting by the TV, and it's like, one thing that NKU players talked about today was that it's like when you're a kid, you kind of put yourself in that seat, like, sure, man, that must be cool. Now those guys are in that seat, and we get to kind of talk about it here on TV. What a fun time of year.
Yeah, a little background right now, what we're doing. Basically, Caleb and I, we are going to just talk all about NKU, Xavier, what this bracket looks like, and where we go from here. But first, some of the basics. He was at NKU today. I have our Xavier breakdown. We're going to be going on the road with the teams. Caleb, NKU, you were there. They were announced as a 16 seed. They're going to be playing #1 overall Houston. What was it like when you were there?
Yeah, we can see the whole bracket
the Midwest
here,
region.
The Midwest region bracket here, which obviously you also see Xavier here on the 3 line. We're going to talk a lot about Xavier too. But the reaction was very cool for Northern Kentucky. I mean, obviously, and now we got the bracket pulled up for you here, Big. Obviously, they knew they were going to be in the NCAA tournament.
We actually have that reaction, Chris. If you could show it to us.
Show it now? Yeah.
Show it and talk about it.
Yeah. Can we show NKU's reaction?
There.
No, this is Xavier's reaction. Let's talk about Xavier.
Let's talk about Xavier
Here's
first. That's fine.
Xavier's reaction when they found out they were playing Kennesaw State, and they were on the 3 line, Marshall. Mm-hmm. Xavier's a 3 seed, which most of the projections I saw had them as a 4 seed.
So Xavier is the #12 overall team in this tournament, meaning that they are the final 3 seed. With that said, that is a surprise. They were not, like you said, no one was expecting them. Everywhere I saw said 4 seed, 5 seed. However, they're running the Big East tournament. They didn't win it. They lost to a very good Marquette team, which is a 2 seed.
Yeah.
That earned them this 3 seed, and they snuck into that 12 spot.
Over the years, one thing that I've kind of concluded, just in my own thinking, is that the seed and what number you have next to your name, it really is what it is. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really matter all that much. What matters more is what your path looks like. And obviously part of that comes with what seed you have.
Well, there's only been one time in history where a 16's been a 1, though.
Yeah, right.
Sure, but I get
part
what
of
you're
that
saying.
is what that comes with a matchup, right? You're a 16 seed like NKU is. You're inevitably going to be, have to play one of the best teams in the country. One thing that NKU players talked to us about today was we didn't know who we were going to play, but we knew it was probably going to be it was going to be Houston or Alabama or Purdue, or it was going to be one of those #1 seeds. Speaking of NKU, I think we have that
video right now. You were there. Caleb, take us through this. What was going on in this moment?
Okay, so there was a lot of chatter going on. There were a lot of fans there, but you see the moment right there.
I love the flex.
Yeah, they all had their phones out. They said they wanted to capture that moment. They said they were taking it in. Sam Vincent specifically, he's one of the ones in the white hat right behind the ticket, if you will.
I will.
Yeah, he said that he wanted to have his phone out so he could capture that moment. That's Trayvon Faulkner there, who hung around for a 5th year at NKU. He wanted to hang around for a 5th year for this reason. Mm-hmm. Like, he wanted a chance to play in the big dance. He was with the team in 2019, but he was a freshman. He was a young guy at the time. He said he learned a lot from those older guys, but now it's like his time to be here and experience this moment. That's Trayvon Faulkner, the same guy who was underneath the basketball goal in tears, yelling, screaming, crying last year after they lost by 1 point in the conference championship game. Chose to come back to NKU for a 5th year so that he could experience this, and now he is. Now he's in this moment.
Focusing on NKU just for a couple more moments, I mean, this is an interesting team. They came into the Horizon League as they were a 4 seed in the tournament, mm-hmm. right? But clearly leaned on that chip on their shoulder, their experience.
Yeah.
How much but they are ranked 63rd overall right now, going against the #2 overall team in Houston, which college basketball fans in our area, they know from the UC times.
Yeah, I spoke with head coach Darren Horn, Sam Vincent, Trayvon Faulkner, Marquez Ward just a few minutes ago. I mean, I literally just got back here to the TV station from speaking with those guys. And the one thing that every single one of them echoed to us over and over was that the pressure's not on us here. Mm-hmm. The pressure's on Houston. That's what they said. They said we have no pressure. This is house money for us. Like, we're going in. Everybody's going to be picking Houston.
And that's dangerous.
Right? Everybody's going to be picking Houston, and for good reason. I mean, Houston is one of the best, arguably the best team in the country.
Yeah.
But the pressure is on Houston. We come out, all we can do is show up in Birmingham, Alabama, and try to put our best basketball out there on that floor and see what happens. But this is an NKU team that has experience.
And that's when we spoke earlier about the one time in history that a 16 seed beat a 1 seed. It was UMBC defeated UVA, who would go on to win the national championship the next year, Virginia. With that said, though, it's been done. The formula is experience and make 3-pointers.
We actually spoke with Darren Horn, NKU's head coach, about that. Well, like, is that something? It wasn't me that asked the question. Somebody asked the question, is that something you're going to talk to your team about at some point over the course of this week? And he was like, nah. Like, he was like, no, we're not. Like, that's not something we're going to talk about. He was like, I'm sure the guys know about it, but it's just, we got to show. He just echoed it over and over. We've got to show up and play our brand of NKU basketball, do what got us here. I mean, look, they were the 4 seed in their conference tournament. People didn't expect them to win their conference tournament, but they're an experienced bunch. They know they know how to play. They know how to peak and march. And yeah.
This is a David and Goliath scenario in every sense of the expression. The one thing, though, if you're an NKU fan, if you're a Norse fan, and you're trying to figure out where is that silver lining, NKU beat UC this year.
Sure.
UC, although they looked terrible against Houston the last time around, the first 2 times.
Yesterday is what you're talking about. But earlier this season.
Earlier this season, twice. They put together a couple good halves against them.
Yeah.
Now, listen, am I going out there and saying NKU is going to go out and upset the number 1 seed? It'd be history. That's what I will say.
Wouldn't be the first time in history, though, to your point. Even though they're not going to talk about it in their locker room. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time.
All I'm saying is we've seen NKU play good basketball. Houston just lost to Memphis. We've seen them bleed. It's like Rocky IV, Ivan Drago. He bleeds. That's all I'm saying here.
Well, and one interesting topic going into the first round game is going to be Marcus Sasser.
Yes.
One of Houston's top players.
One of the top players in the country.
Went down with a non-contact injury against Cincinnati yesterday. You never know what to make of that kind of thing, but yeah, he went down. So it's going to be interesting to follow his injury updates as we go through the week and get closer to that matchup later on this week. Look, and connect the dots here. You said it. You said NKU beat the Bearcats earlier this season. They beat Cincinnati. They're going to be able to look at the tape of Cincinnati, a team they know very well, obviously, because they played them and beat them earlier this season. They're going to be able to look at the tape of UC against Houston 3 different times this season. UC played Houston 3 different times. And I don't know how much you're able to connect those dots as a coach and say, we know the personnel of this UC team very well, and we can see how Houston chose to try to match up with that personnel 3 different times this season. And maybe draw comparisons and say this is how we think they might match up with it. But look, Houston is a juggernaut, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Houston's a team that's going to rebound. They're going to play defense. They're going to, do the fundamental things that they have to do. And they've got dudes, man.
They got dudes.
They do.
So, yeah, NKU 16-1 would be history. We'll have much more on that. You're going to be likely traveling with the NKU
Oh,
team.
likely travel. I'm going, baby.
He's going. All right. Didn't know if we were saying that yet. Well, he's going. I'll be going with Xavier. Let's talk about this Xavier team, though. This is a Musketeers team, the 3 seed. They're playing 14 seed Kennesaw State. They got in by winning the ASUN. Kennesaw State, just a little bit on them, 26-8 overall, 15-3 in ASUN play. This is a Xavier team that is frisky. One of the things that Sean Miller spoke about that this team is really going to lean on is their offensive consistency.
Yeah.
They have a lot of pieces. They led the Big East in scoring, which if you look at the brackets, the Big East overall, they had a lot of teams and a lot of high places.
Well, and they've been doing that over the course, and you use the word consistency, over the course of the entire season. Throw yesterday out. Yesterday was a weird anomaly of like where Xavier just did not.
Sean Miller said they were banged up. They're tired. He's happy they're playing Friday because that will give them a little bit more time to get healthy for this Kennesaw State game.
Very true. Yeah, and I mean, that's obviously they go to the, their conference championship game. That's one of the positives where if you're going to be in that conference championship game, that's one of the positives that game is on Saturday. It gives you that extra day of Sunday, and now they get that other extra day of having Thursday to prepare for a Friday game. Of course, NKU plays Thursday. Xavier plays on Friday. But yeah, I mean, you said, again, back to the point here, you said Xavier's had consistent offensive production throughout the course of this season, and they really have, man. I mean, they can go shot for shot with any team in the country. Again, throw yesterday out. They were banged up. That's an anomaly it's a weird, anomaly, but they can go shot for shot with anybody.
The 20 Big East games they played this season, they show they're the real deal, and they have so many ways they could beat you. One being that guy right there, Jack Nungy.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy has more college experience than probably. Like, so I don't know what the comparison is. The one thing, speaking
Like anybody?
but a lot. He's been around for a hot sec. Colby Jones is good. Suli Boom might be one of the best transfers. Not might be, is one of the best transfers in the country to any school coming from UTEP. The one thing I want to point out about this Xavier team, this Xavier run, they are a team that does not have a ton of tournament experience. Adam Kunkel won a playing
hasn't
game.
Been there since what, 2018?
Yeah, so Sean Miller was asked about that. And Sean Miller has a ton of tournament experience. Back when he was at Xavier, at the University of Arizona.
Yep.
Adam Kunkel is like one of the only guys on this team who's played in the big dance. So Sean Miller, he was asked, like, how much does the coaching experience help? You know, well, jokingly, I hope a lot. But this is a very interesting, a veteran group of guys who have not been to this stage before. So I'm interested to see how that's gonna play out.
You talked to Adam Kunkel a couple weeks ago about, it was a one-on-one conversation with you and Adam, and you talked about the fact that he had been at Belmont. Now, he was young. I think he got like 2 minutes of experience in that game, but he was there, and that's part of it. Like on the NKU side of things, same deal with Trayvon Faulkner. He went in 2019 with them. He was a freshman. He said he learned a lot from the older guys and whatever. But the fact of the matter is, Trayvon Faulkner for NKU and Adam Kunkel for Xavier, similar type thing here. Because part of it is you arrive there and it's like, man, we're here. This is real, man. I mean, that's something I asked Trayvon Faulkner about personally today. I was like, was there a moment in 2019 when you showed up at the NCAA tournament, at the site, and was there a moment where you were like, wow, this is real? He said, yeah, there was actually. He was like, when we first stepped in that locker room, he said, I kind of did. He said, I took a step back and was like, this is real. We're really here. And that's going to be, to your point, right? That's going to be a similar experience, you would think, for a lot of guys on that Xavier roster who have not been on this stage yet. But it's a Xavier team, again, that can go shot for shot with anybody, like we mentioned. I think the one big X factor for Xavier is, do they guard well? Do they play good defensively?
I think that's fair, but I also think the biggest X factor is Xavier's depth. They're not as, I mean, they lost Zach Freemantle.
That's
which is tough. But they won without
Xavier.
him.
They did.
They won without him.
Well, and the other thing is, it's like we talk about Marcus Sasser, and what percentage will he be for Houston? Houston, who knows? Maybe they have to figure out how to try to win without one of their key playmakers. The positive for Xavier here, and again, I'm crossing over. The positive for Xavier here is that they have that formula already.
Yeah. You have that formula, and maybe that works against Kennesaw State, and then maybe that works in the next round, which I believe I have right here is Iowa State against the winner of the round of 60, the playing game, Mississippi State versus Pitt. So maybe that works, and if you get to the Sweet 16, that's pretty successful.
You want to talk path here? You want to talk path?
Let's talk path a little bit. Let's do it.
So Xavier has Kennesaw State in the first round. If they win that matchup, like you just mentioned, they get Iowa State, a very good, very competitive team that
Big 12 team who's been playing.
Big 12, one of the better conferences. Maybe you can make an argument that the Big 12 is the best conference in America this year. A very good Iowa State team out of the Big 12, or Mississippi State and Pitt. Pitt has been a team that has kind of had the pressure on them for some time now, that they've been a bubble team. It's like you got to win games.
SEC is no joke for Mississippi State.
Yeah, Mississippi State played Florida the other day, I don't know.
Yeah,
it all runs together at this point. But yeah, that's who it would be, Mississippi State, Pitt, or most likely, more likely than anything, would be Iowa State.
And then if you look down, that Texas team, they were a fringe one. A lot of plays, team, they were that Big 12 conference, how things would go about. Colgate's had upsets in the tournament before, too.
Colgate's one of those teams where it's like you look at your bracket. I don't know how closely you were watching the selection show, but like you pick up your bracket every year and you're like, well, dang,
there's
Colgate's
the
there again.
Yeah. Colgate always has a team. Texas A&M with head coach Buzz Williams, they've turned things around. Penn State looking frisky in the Big Ten championship today against Purdue. It's not. You don't ever want to say the path is there, but the path is there for Xavier. You don't want to say it, but I'll say it. The top of the bracket, obviously, Houston. The one thing about Houston is they're real good.
Okay, hit me. I don't know what you're about to throw out here now.
I mean, we watched Cincinnati basketball all year. They were in the AAC.
Yeah.
you're not playing Big 12 teams. You're not playing Big East teams. Yeah, they were the number 2 team in the country. They're 31-3, 17-1 overall. Are they better than Northern Kentucky? Yes, objectively. But, like, are they better than half the Big East? I don't know.
And that's one of those things where anytime you look at a team like Houston from the American Athletic Conference, you do wonder, what are they going to look like when they get to this stage?
I mean, their path ain't easy. You got Iowa Big 10, Auburn SEC, Miami ACC, Indiana,
I will say, we were, what day was it? Houston, it was the day before, it was the, I guess, quarterfinal round of the AAC tournament.
I don't know. This is March. It all blends.
This is March. No, who are they? Do you remember who they played the day before that? ECU.
ECU, yeah.
Gave Houston
we were texting about this.
Sort of a run for their money up until halftime. It was a decent game. It was a good game. And we were like, is there a chance that ECU? So at that point.
And then I was on a run, didn't answer you, and then I think you second texted me, JK, this is JV playing against varsity.
So I didn't watch the first, I don't know, I flipped that game on. I was following it, and I was like, wow, close game. And then late in the first half, I turned the game on, and I start watching it. And I'm like, and I double text you. I'm like,
hit him with the double text. See, relationships everywhere, it works.
But I'm like, there's no way ECU wins this game. I'm watching it at that point. I'm like, this is varsity against JV. This is like Houston could play with their offhand. That's no disrespect to ECU at all. I mean, because ECU gave them a run for their money for the first half of that game.
With the 11 seed in the AAC,
but the point is, like, you flip it on. It's like the eye test. It's like you flip it on and you see Houston play, and you're like, whew. Them boys are good. Like they could have.
It'll be fun to watch.
I texted you. I'm like, they could have beat ECU with their left hand.
Yeah.
Like, it was there. Houston is that good. But look, we talked to Northern Kentucky again today. They told us, they said the pressure's on them. The pressure's not on us.
And where's the opposite for Xavier? The pressure is on Xavier. I've spoken to a few Xavier fans who were telling me that it is gravy at this point. When you look at where they came from last year, they were an NIT team. Yes, they won the NIT.
But they won the NIT, and that was going to be my question. Does that help?
No.
Like, those are meaningful games in March.
Are they?
Yeah,
I don't think NIT games are meaningful in March.
Okay.
I don't know. To your point, I asked Adam Kunkel about that when we had our one-on-one, and I said, what was the vibe like? Like, you won, and he was kind of like, yeah, we won the losers bracket, which is good. You don't want to lose the losers bracket. And, like, no disrespect to the NIT. I mean, a little bit of disrespect to the NIT, but not real disrespect to the NIT. It helps, but this is a big Sean Miller thing. Like, he got guys to come back. He got guys who wanted to play. And you end on a positive momentum, but they're a different team than last year.
Yes.
They're a juggernaut this year. And that, when you're a 3 seed, there's pressure on you.
But the fact is, it's like kind of the same. Yes, you have, a few additional guys who have played major roles here.
Sure.
But a lot of the core of that Xavier team is pretty similar to that Xavier team last year that made that run in the NIT.
And that does not have NCAA tournament experience.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Correct.
So, and I see what you're saying. Yeah, you want to win. You want to.
Well, but I mean, you mentioned Sean Miller. Give a lot of credit to Sean Miller because he took over a team that, look, when we looked at that Xavier team last year, and we're like, this is a very talented Xavier team. They go to the NIT, and you're looking at that bracket, and you're like, Xavier kind of stands out in that bracket when you look at the talent that they've got. And no, I wasn't shocked that they won the NIT last year. But to take that team that was in the NIT last year, flip it around 1 year later, we're looking at a team that's a 3 seed in the NIT, or I'm sorry, in the NCAA tournament.
It
with a target on their backs.
It doesn't hurt. Yeah, of course. Listen, this Xavier team, there's a path for them. They are very talented. They have all the pieces. Depth is the question. Sean Miller's talked about depth being a question. And how much is the second game of these weekends, if they were to go to the Sweet 16, if they are to go to the Elite 8, we saw it in the Big East Championship. Sean Miller said it in his post-game press conference for the Big East Championship when Xavier lost to Marquette. Sean Miller said, 3 days, 3 games for us, that's not built. It's not a.
We're not built for that.
We're not built for that.
The NCAA
he didn't say it exactly like that.
Right.
I'm paraphrasing what he said.
No, but the NCAA tournament is not quite that.
No,
it's
not.
It has shades of that, where if you win Friday, you got to turn around and play Sunday, and inevitably, it's going to be against a very good team.
But with that said, it's higher emotion. I don't know that it'll come into question. I'm just saying, if there is a flaw in the Xavier team, that's it. However, I think this Xavier team has way more positives than flaws, and I'm telling you right now, I would not be shocked to see them in the Final Four.
Okay, I don't know how much time we got.
We should start moving along a little bit.
Let me ask you though. Okay, so everybody is going to be filling out brackets in the next few days.
It's like the greatest smell ever, freshly printed. I'm just saying, it's like
We're gonna have
some
to-
people
can
have
we
their
get a-
things like fresh mowed lawns, flowers. For me,
Can we get somebody in the back to like make a quick GIF? Is it GIF or GIF?
people in the back have a lot of work to
Is
do.
it GIF
Kayla.
or GIF?
Yes.
Get out of
Is
here.
it tournament or tournament?
We're gonna make. No, I'm very staunch on that. One's a yes and one's a no. You tell me.
I've lived in too many regions now that I don't know what else is
No,
my words.
I need an answer.
I'll
Is
give you
it
the answer.
Tournament or
I
tournament?
say tournament. I grew up saying tournament,
Grew up saying tournament.
but I realize
you've-
that's wrong.
You've joined the right side
Yeah.
of things since then.
Yeah.
Again, there is a right answer, and the right
Let's
answer
talk
is
about the
tournament.
tourney.
So I do want to ask you, when you're
yeah.
filling out your bracket this week, and what are you looking for? I mean, because
Mascots. I'm
okay,
kidding.
no, that's the
I'm
right.
kidding.
Honestly, that's
I'm
that's
kidding,
a
I'm kidding.
right answer.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
honestly, because some people can fill it out based on that and actually do really well. Because the point is, this time of year, it's anybody's guess.
Real
man.
answer.
There's going to be an upset. I don't know if it's going to be in this region or another region. There's going to be an upset where everybody's like, I didn't see that one coming.
When we're
St. Peter's
specifically
last year.
talking about upsets, I'm looking at 3-point percentage, 3-point shots taken, and rebounding.
And see, that's where I'm getting with that. So like say it again. 3-point percentage.
3-point shots attempted, 3-point percentage, and rebounding.
So
Those
how
are the three
many
big-
3-point
How many
shots are you
3-pointers
taking?
you take? How consistently you make 3-point shots?
So you're saying that you value a team that will and can and will shoot 3-point shots
That is the
at a high
proven
volume
recipe
and
for
percentage.
upsets. Because, I mean, think about it. We could keep pushing you back. If you're making them from 40 feet deep, you're gonna put buckets
Yeah,
in.
and it's always a question mark though going into this time of year because inevitably you're playing in a different type of environment. A lot of these, it's a different type of arena, it's a different type of environment. It's not like a home crowd necessarily. It's a neutral site, and so is that something that you look at? I mean, what has a team done?
And defense, which is tough because I don't necessarily think turnover percentage is very important. It's points allowed that's important to me. So I don't care if a team gets X amount of turnovers in a game. How many points you let up, but that gets a little stingy, right? Because if you're talking about an America East, a Horizon League, a MAC, an MAAC, a smaller
maybe they
major.
dominated certain games throughout the course of
Yeah,
their
so like it's
season.
kind of skewed. But if you're talking about Power 5, Big East, and like you're seeing that they're letting up under 55 points.
Yeah.
That
I haven't seen the conference breakdown, which I know before the tournament, before the selection show, I think the Big Ten was projected to have the most. Big 12 was right behind them there.
yeah, it's what you'd expect.
Which conference do you expect to do well in this tournament? Which conference do you expect to not do well, to underachieve?
I think the Big East will achieve.
Really?
I do, and I'm not just saying that because Xavier's here. Like I think
You homer.
If you caught me, if anyone in Cincinnati media is a homer, it's me. You caught me.
No, that's not true.
No, I think Xavier, Marquette, Creighton, there's just some squads.
And the fact that they play that conference tournament in Madison Square Garden, like the stage doesn't get any bigger than that. So then you turn around and play in the NCAA tournament.
I'm
Again,
looking
the
at
stage
this
isn't any
now.
bigger.
I mean, I think the Big 12 will do well. I think the Big 10 will
There's
do
always
well.
that one conference every year that just vastly underachieves.
I think Pac-12 will underachieve.
Okay.
I think UCLA is great. I think Arizona's great, but I think USC honestly, I like USC, a little frisky pick there at the 10 seed against Michigan State. Just looking at this now off the cuff, but I think the Pac-12 will underachieve. I think the Big East, Big 12, and Big 10. I mean, that's not that crazy of a take. I'm sorry if that's what you wanted.
I was looking for a hot take, and you
I think
disappointed.
I think the ACC will surprise people because
Okay.
this is a down year for the ACC.
There's a lot of Kentucky fans in our area, in the
let's
Cincinnati
talk about
area,
Cats a little
especially okay, so they get, you talk about the Big East, they get Providence, first round. Providence, I would have to think Providence is a pretty good 11 seed. I don't know, I haven't seen where they fall in that. But
Providence has lost some games this year they should have won. But I will tell you this, I don't bet against Ed Cooley. That head coach of the Providence Friars, yeah, they know what they're doing. Right there we have the
Look at
Kentucky
our guy
Providence.
Chris, man.
Chris, yeah, so Kentucky Providence, I think that's going to likely be a primetime game because I think that's going to be the kind of basketball people.
Yeah, you talk about the Michigan State USC game. There it is right there. The winner of that gets
How about Duke or Oral Roberts? I'm sorry, whenever I see Oral Roberts on the bracket, I get excited.
I was looking at the one at the very bottom, man. You love you some Catamounts. But they get that Marquette team that we just saw look like a buzzsaw against Xavier yesterday. Any chance those that UVM team?
January, February, Catamounts, April. January, February, John Becker, April. Listen, it's going to be tough. I thought the Vermont team last year was incredible. They played at Arkansas. They lost by a few points at the end, and that's really because their guys didn't show up in the second half. I can talk Vermont basketball all day. Not the point for this. No. I think it's going to be tough, but Vermont's a team. They can make threes. They're a little undersized against Marquette, but I don't know. If there's anything I've learned from being around that program, you don't count John Becker out. You don't count Finn Sullivan, American East Player of the Year, Aaron Deloney, Sixth Man of the Year. All right, let's move on.
Speaking of another coach named John Calipari at Kentucky.
Yeah.
How much pressure is on this Kentucky team that will be favored? I mean, I talk about Providence maybe being a tough out in the first round as an 11 seed, but how much Kentucky's going to be the
favorite? It doesn't matter your record. When you are a Kentucky Wildcat, you are Goliath. It doesn't matter. If you play at Rupp Arena, if you go to school in Lexington and you play basketball, you are always going to have a target on your back. You are always. It's the same as Duke. It's the same as UNC. The same as UCLA. Like blue bloods of college basketball. It does not matter what your regular season was. You are expected to win in March.
And when I look at this region of the bracket, the most exciting. I think
that's LSU, right? Tennessee, LSU. That's interesting.
I was Tennessee, Louisiana, Lafayette.
Oh, you're right.
But that's actually right where I was looking. Is a potential Duke Tennessee matchup in the second round, first weekend of the tournament. That is a heavyweight clash if that happens. Duke Tennessee in the second round. There's a lot. This is going to be.
We could be doing this all day. Let's just real quick. We'll go through the rest of the region. So that was the East region. Maybe we could pull up the South region because that's where that Midwest would play that in theory in the Final Four. If Chris was able to do that for us real quick, that'd be great.
The South region, you said.
The South region bracket because if that's I'm sorry.
No,
that's the West. We'll start with the South first.
Then we'll go. Yeah,
I don't have a compass.
Let's go South first.
We'll talk South.
They don't pay you to be directionally.
No. Arizona, Princeton. That's always interesting. The Ivy League finds a way. Yale actually lost to Princeton in the Ivy League championship today. That Yale team was scaring a lot of people. I told you that, and Princeton found a way to beat them.
Yale was like your team a couple weeks ago. You were, that was one of your upset picks, but they got upset themselves.
They did, yeah. I mean, Bama's a wagon at that one seed. Like this Bama team's
so just ultra talented, man, and they've had obviously a lot of. I don't know if you want to. I don't know what word you want to use there. It's been a kind of a tumultuous.
Yeah, a lot of off-the-court distractions
for Alabama, but still, when you look at the talent that Alabama possesses, that they're going to come into these games with, it's incredible.
Yeah, Maryland, West Virginia, that should be fun. I think also Baylor is always a team. I mean, look at recent history.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Well, and we talk about the Big 12. It's a league that has had a lot of postseason success.
Yeah, it's going to be tough as a Bearcat fan next year. Like you're going to be seeing every week.
Yeah, but the point is, it's like if you can get through that league. It's been proven that if you can make it out of that league,
Big East, Big 12, Big 10. That's what I said. Yeah.
Then you're a tournament-proven team. You're going to be ready to go this time of year.
Yeah, and also I forgot to mention earlier, Kentucky fans and Xavier fans, both of those first and second round, are all in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'll be there. We'll be covering it.
Greensboro, a lovely city, man.
I like Greensboro. It's good. Very pretty. It's no Cincinnati, though. Okay, here it is, the West region. This is if there were to be a Final Four with the Midwest, which is where Northern Kentucky and Xavier both are. This is the region they'd be playing in the Final Four. A lot of people had Iona coming out as to be the 4-13 matchup against Xavier. Mm-hmm. Iona, Rick Pitino, a big name around this region from both Kentucky and Louisville. I would be shocked if we see Rick Pitino there again next year. He's been floated around with the St. John's job, potentially the Georgetown job. I think Iona, UConn, a Big East team. Iona is a frisky pick if you're looking for upsets. I'm sure that will be a popular name. Rick Pitino has been playing really good basketball.
What do we think about VCU on that 12 line? Because obviously every year you go into the tournament and there's so much talk about those 5-12 matchups. What do we think about VCU there?
VCU seems to figure it out. I'm going to be honest, I don't know enough about the St. Mary's VCU matchup.
VCU just seems like one of those teams, though, We mentioned it with a few other teams where you look at your bracket, you might not have watched any college basketball that year, but then you pick up your bracket and you're like, there's
VCU,
again,
Colgate,
man.
Vermont. Like there's these mid-major teams that they're there.
Yeah, I mean they're those types of programs that expect to be here year in and year out. I think that's an interesting 5-12. The other 5-12.
I just think Gonzaga as a 3 seed. Is this the year that they're like, okay, it's time?
Okay, it's time. What?
Let's run.
Let's
to win. Let's go. Let's win it all.
Yeah.
They're not as good as years past, but
they're still Gonzaga.
They're still Gonzaga.
I mean, they've become.
I saw, what was it, a really interesting stat that I don't think since 1997 a team west of Texas has won the national championship.
Wait, really?
Yeah, the west of the state of Texas. I think the last one was U of A in 97.
I mean, I'll check you on it later. I mean,
I'm a dork. I just take my word.
I'm trying to think of who it would have been. And
no.
I mean, Oregon's had some good teams, but not that good. Kansas? Well, that would be West.
We're playing
Texas.
Marshall and Caleb try to stump each other on facts we think are true. I'm almost positive that
That's actually my favorite game.
That's all we do all day long.
I'm trying to disprove you here, but I can't. I mean, off the top of my head, I mean,
follow us on Twitter later. We'll put it out there.
Arizona would have been.
I think that was the last one in '97.
They haven't won one since then. Huh. There you go.
Fun facts with us. Okay, so that's a breakdown of the bracket. We can talk about this all day. Our Twitters will be active talking about this the whole
Last thing
time.
for you, the 5-12 matchup. I talked about the 5-12 matchup. Here's the 5-12 matchups for this year's NCAA tournament. Okay, Duke and Oral Roberts.
Yeah.
San Diego State is the 5 seed against Charleston.
Charleston's good. Have you watched any Charleston basketball
I
this
haven't
year?
watched them, but I've sort of kept up with them from afar.
They have that formula of 3 points and rebounding.
Okay, so there's one. So Miami, Florida, the Hurricanes are a 5 seed against Drake, 12 seed. And then the St. Mary's VCU. And the reason I bring those up is because that's the line for whatever reason.
There's
I don't know,
3 12s win a year.
Because it's like, I guess it's where you get some of your best automatic qualifiers from small conferences against, 5 seed teams that we don't really know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you get some of your biggest upsets every year. So I'm asking you, which of those are you taking this year? Is it Charleston?
I'm taking Charleston.
Charleston over San Diego State.
Yeah, Charleston's they have that formula. They have the right group of guys. Like I said, they could shoot from deep. They can rebound. That's typically when I pick that 12-5, that's the first thing I'm looking at. Have I been proven wrong? More than I've been proven right. But I'm just saying.
Still can't prove you wrong on the west of Texas thing. I'm going to work on that, though.
I lived in West Texas, so I'm telling you, I don't think it's true. But no, listen, thanks so much for joining us. Facebook Live, YouTube Live, OTT, WCPO.com.
Did we go way too long here?
I don't know. Our boss PJ said, "Hey, just keep."
I mean, honestly, they would have cut us off if we were.
I don't even know if we're on TV right now. I don't even know. We could just. This might as well have been back in the sports office.
Right.
Listen, thanks for joining us. We're gonna have so much coverage leading up as long as these teams are involved. You'll be heading down to Birmingham with Northern Kentucky. I'll be heading out to Greensboro, North Carolina with Xavier. We're gonna give you all the coverage from then. And tonight at 11, I'll have some reaction from both Northern Kentucky and Xavier. It's the best time of the year. This is March. He's Caleb No. I'm Marshall Kramsky. Thanks so much for joining us, and I'll see you at 11 tonight.